So we have seen the if else, if else, and we also saw the switch. Now we're going to look at the for loop. So all these functions you will be utilizing later. So especially for loop is whenever you need to perform a task more than once. So we have used iteration statements of Python, but when we actually want to perform a specific number of times, we actually can use the for loop statement. So this for loop has a definite beginning and an end. So the number of time for a for loop execute depend on the number of elements in the variable that we provide as an input. So this is the syntax for loop. You define the for loop variable in the input variable, and then give a colon, then give the statement. So again, note that the statement to be executed for the for loop are indented, same like the if else statement, and there is a loop variable to be used for the for loop, and the number of times the for loop runs depends on the input variable. So here one of the advantages, in C programming you have to define for I equals to 0, I less than 5, I plus plus. You have to define how many times for it to actually loop, right? Here one of the advantages is that you don't have to define that. You just have to define the number of input variable. It will automatically run until the end of the element based on the input variable. So let's see for an example. Let's create a list. So we have not learned what is a list. We will define those, but let's say fruits equals to when you want to define a list, you actually use a square bracket when we want to define a list. So later we will see what's the difference between a list, tuple, all those things. So it has more, in a list it has multiple elements. So let's define any fruits. You just don't have to follow the same fruits. Pineapple, orange, let's say banana. So this is what we are doing. We are creating a list. So this list has a variable name which is fruits, and in this variable list fruit there are 3 elements, right? Pineapple, orange, and banana. So what is the syntax actually? The syntax is for, then the syntax, let me write like this. So you have the for, and then you have the loop variable. You need to have the loop variable in the input variable. This is the syntax, right? So we're going to write for. Now what is the loop variable? The loop variable you can give any names. So for example, k. You can define any variable, doesn't matter at all. For k in, what is the input variable here? Name? Fruits, correct. It's a list, right? Fruits. So type fruits, colon. So what this is doing, for k is a loop variable. What it will do is, for each iteration it will assign the element to that loop variable. So in the first iteration it will assign pineapple to k. The second iteration it will assign orange to k. In the third iteration it will assign banana to k. This same like how you define I variable. It's a loop variable, right? Just that in C programming you have to increase the the value of the I, so that you are able to access the next element, right? This one no need. Python you don't have to do that. So this is a simple one. When you press enter, so let's say you want to print print K. What is the email? So what do you do when you run? See, it prints pineapple, orange and banana. So do you have to define the limit, how many times you loop? Don't have to. So this is one advantage of the for loop in Python. Any question up to this point? You all understand, right? What is the loop variable and also what is the input variable? For the loop variable, you can give any name. It is just going to assign every single element to that variable so that you can do something. In this case, we are just printing it out, and it automatically goes. You don't have. I don't have to define the number of loops, how many times. So this is one amazing thing that you can actually do. Okay. So as I mentioned, fruits is the input variable, which is a list of 3 fruits. So the loop runs for 3 iterations because the number of items stored in the variable fruit is 3. So you don't have to define, automatically detects. So useful function range, this is one. Range, this is another built-in function. Range is also used in a for loop, which can actually generate a sequence of numbers. For example, if you specify range 10, it will generate numbers from 0 to 9. 10 numbers, right? Because it's starting from 0 to 9. So the following code generates the first 10 numbers. So here straight away we can actually use the for loop. For, you can define anything. You can define any loop variable. Then in, now here we don't have any input variable, right? So we are using the function range. So we can put, oh sorry, not range, and you can define 10. Don't forget the colon, and you want to print J. So what this will actually do, it uses the range function and it will print, will assign all this value from 0 to 9. So in the range also, you can actually define how we did earlier. Remember, we did the slicing and also we did the step. We can actually also apply the same here. So the for loop, not necessarily if you want to use the step size. So currently this one is the step size is 1, right? When you just define a range to 10, it actually goes from 0 to 9, the first 10 digits. But if you want it to generate from one particular number to another particular number, then you can actually specify the starting point, the ending point, and also the step. So let's say for example, now for, let's use x in range, say 2 to 10, print x. So it's the same thing. What's the first one? First one is a start point, starting number. What is the second one? It is the ending number, but it's exclusive. So it starts from 2, it goes until 9. Right, so you can actually define the range of where you want to start. Now let's say if you want to actually include the step size, then you can actually put, let's say, step size 2. So if you do this, it again the same principle how we did the starts printing the first one, then it counts 1 2, it prints that, then 1 2, print that, 1 2, print that. So that's why you get 2 4 6 8. It's the same principle, huh? Okay, can we move on? So there is another two useful statement, which is break and continue, which are often used inside an iteration statements. The former, which is break, breaks the execution of the loop and forces the control to come out. So that is break. The latter, which is continue, skips all the statements for the for loop following the keyword continue. So let's do the example, then we can see some appreciation, I think. So again, let's go to fruits. So let's say pineapple. Sorry, okay to use fruits, right? Okay. Or you want any other things? Fruits is okay. Just let me know if it's not easy fasting. Sorry, when I see, I don't feel, of course, I'm not fasting, but I have to also be considerate, right? So if you feel, also maybe you can use something else. Shall we use stationery? We use stationery, huh? Sorry. Ah, it's okay. I erased my fruits already. Okay, never mind. Stationery, paper, pen, stapler, say for example, so this is, of course, we are create a list. So now we can actually use the for loop. So we can assign any variable. Let's say use back the k in stationery. So now we have the input variable. So we can actually use the if statement to actually check if k comparison operator, if k is actually equals to pen, for example. So this is an if statement, so we need to use colon, then we can use continue. Print k. And if k is equals to, let's say, stapler, oh sorry, then you break. So if you actually run this, Yeah, so I'm just showing the first half of it. So here for k in stationaries, so these are 4 elements, right, in stationary. So in that for loop, it takes the first one, paper, right? It says that if k is equals to pen, then you continue, which means you pass, right? So is k equal to pen? Nope. So you just print k, so you get paper. The second element is pen, right? So is k equal to pen? Yes, so you continue. So you don't, you see that it doesn't print the, it doesn't execute that. Now take note that this print k, is it for if statement or is it for statement? Yes, it is for statement. Remember that if you want this, if you put indentation, then it will be for the if statement. So this is for the for statement. Okay. So it continues. So if k is equal to pen, it doesn't execute, it continues to the next for entry. So that's why it doesn't print. Then that's why you see stapler and marker. So if you include the, if k equals to stapler, it will break. That means it's no longer running the for loop anymore. So if you run this, that's why you only see paper, and then when it comes to stapler, it breaks. Break means what? It breaks from the for loop, so it doesn't run anymore. So continue means you continue, but with the next element. Break means what? If you fulfill the condition, you totally break and come out from the for loop. Is that okay? Okay, I changed the example, so, so the note is based on fruits. Anyway, I have already explained that, so it's not an issue. So interestingly, the for loop can also be used with the else statement to indicate the end of the loop in the following statement. So let's now use numbers plot. So we are also creating a list of numbers. Okay, interesting to note that the earlier list that we create is consists of strings. This list is consists of integer. Okay, so we define it for, let's say, for I in numbers colon, you can actually print I. And you can actually use else colon, don't forget, print. So what is this else for? It is to indicate that already all the entry finished. So you can just no numbers left, for example. So basically this else is just to indicate the end of, just to print out to show that that's the end. So you can actually combine it. So 0 until 5, which is displays all the items, and then finally else. Else means if there's no more elements in the loop for loop, then you print no numbers left. Okay, so good so far.